called Bima'ir the Elul, Teira Tshuva, and Meisim Tevim. Hollywood Hills is a community that's building up, Baruch Hashem, and a lot of it is the greatest chus of the Rav, who is a personal mentor of mine, a role model of mine. Baruch Hashem, everyone's going to hear him speak, and everyone's going to feel the same way. And that's big chus the Jews of the Goldschmiedt and Shukre.
Like beer? Are you sure I want this recorded? Shkoyach Rabbi Singer for the public humiliation. Shus the Rosh Koel, Dina the Koel. I want to give a special akar to B'chlal, to the Koel, for allowing me to be part of it, not simply right now in this moment, but throughout the last 2 years. I've had this close to being part of the Koel half the day, now a little longer, now a full day. And it's a true Makam Torah. It's a place to plug into. It's a place where I think the one word to describe it is vibrant. A person comes in and gets rejuvenated. A person feels the vibrancy, and not only affects him the immediate walls of the Beis Medrash, but it goes out into the rest of his life. So Shukayach for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. I would like to focus, if possible, on 3 points, 3 aspects of Elul that'll give us a better direction, I hope, to better utilizing this time and making this Zman a little more impactful and meaningful this coming year. Many of us remember, just a few months ago, the not so surprising news of Spirit Airlines going under. I don't think anybody appreciated more than the Yidden in South Florida, that we felt it the most. It definitely affected a lot of our summer travel plans, but it went under. Due to that, I scrambled. I had the fascinating experience this past summer to fly Allegiant to Trenton Airport. It was something else. We land, we hit the runway, and then we stop. And we look around. Where's the airport? There's no airport. And my son asked me, he's like, where's the jet bridge? There's no jet bridge. There's a couple guys wheeling up a little staircase to connect to the plane. So we walk down, and they're taking our suitcases out from the bonnets. Mom's like, it's like lost and found. You can collect your own right there. There's no luggage carousel. There's nothing. There's like a little belt outside and a little trailer. And they put it in there instead of giving it to you directly, and you pick up your stuff and you go. I mean, it was pathetic for what an airport potentially could look like. The security, there's nothing going on. It's a teeny little hovel, it's a hut. There was a grand total of 2 planes sitting in the whole place. There's not even gates, for crying out loud. That's what it was. I was thinking to myself, I was like, contrast that to a big, relatively large, important airport. There's gates, there's security, there's a lot of systems in place, and they rely heavily on it. And I was thinking to myself that when you're a little nobody, when you're relatively insignificant and doesn't count, you don't really need security, you don't really need any real systems in place, there's not a lot going on, so you don't need much, there's not a lot going on. And yet, when you're a little bigger, there's more happening, there's a lot more potential, it requires more attention. It requires better systems, better security. I think we remember what it was like, security before 9/11. Not much. But post 9/11, when we saw the tremendous destructive potential that can exist from a collapse in security through an airport, now more is necessary. After a while, I realized that the same thing applies to ourselves. To the extent that you see yourself as dinky little Trenton, that might be all you amount to. And you're not going to bother setting up the right security and systems in place. But when you realize the tremendous innate potential that lies within, and what a person can blossom forth into, and what she'ifas for godless can accomplish, it requires security. It requires systems. It requires a plan for how I'm going to achieve and how I'm going to do it. I think that's the first aspect that I want to focus on in regards to Elul. We have to realize who we are. There's no drive to fight. There's no desire to push when I don't see myself as something that's worthy pushing for. But when I realize that I'm not a Trenton, and I realize what my value really is, and what I could be if I just pushed, that creates the drive and the desire to do so. We're in a war, Rabbi say. He says to the Melchama, the Yitzhahara. We say in David, we're in a constant fight with the Yitzhahara. We have a Kadosh Baruch Hu to be B'teach in. But if we don't see ourselves as something worthy fighting for, what kind of fight are we going to put up? And it's incumbent upon ourselves to take ourselves seriously. Really? I'm going to settle for less? I'm not going to be careful with the things that I'm engaged in? I'm not going to be careful with what enters my eyes and ears? That's Trenton security. But if Chas v'Shalom and 9/11 can happen from a collapse in security because of the tremendous potential that a plane can bring, then I stop myself and realize, what's the tremendous potential that my eyes, ears, neshama can bring? Now I'm ready to start fighting. I'm ready to put the proper safeguards in place to what I'm involved with and to what enters my life. That, I believe, is step number one. Step number two. Okay? Now we have the desire. We have the drive to do something about it. What do? A friend of mine shared with me a beautiful thought based on Ramesh Shapira's Zechron. I'm not sure how much of it was him and how much of it was my friend. He asked the following two questions in regards to Elul. Does anyone happen to know what the mazel for Elul is? Basula. Virgo, Virgin. If anything, it seems a little contradictory. Elul is the last month of the year. We've been trodden upon. We're all the way at the end. We lived through everything already. Basula seemingly represents his chadshus, untouched. So why is Elul Basula? Shouldn't Basula be the very beginning, the very start of it? Question number one. Question number two. The Arizal, when he brings the Ramazan for Elul, brings a fascinating remez. It's a remez in Parsha Mishpatim and the Parsha Ir Miklat. Pasuk says, Shelei tzada v'lekim ino liyodei samti chalmakoi. A person, you're killing b'shogeg, no previous hate. Ino liyodei v'samti l'cha makoi. Elul. What does Ir Miklat have anything to do with Elul b'chal? What's the connection? So explained as follows. You're right. Elul is at the end. Not only is he at the end, it's after a summer. I think most of us are still trying to catch our breath and get on our feet. We've gone through everything already. It's not easy to stand back up. But there's an inner ear miklat that every person has. Every person has an akuda of a basula within him, of an untouched area of chizuk and an untouched area of tahara. As we say every morning, Elokai, neshama shenasata bi tahorahi. The neshama you gave me is tar. It's untouchable. It cannot be tainted. It cannot be ruined. Says Ramesh Shapira, Elul is the time where we have to dig deep. It's the time where even though we thought we've been through everything, we reach further inside ourselves. We find the element of basula and the element of ir miklat, our inner sanctuary, to draw forth chizuk and strength to pull us forward into the Yemei Adin. Essentially, it's telling us to push harder. Find the inner strength that wasn't necessarily easily accessible to you. Sometimes you have to push in and reach further down to find the basula, the ir miklat within you. And it takes pushing. And sometimes we ask ourselves, I push here, I push there, I do a little Kabbalah, I get a little this, a little that. I don't see or feel much of a difference. So I want to share a made-up mashal that we're actually all living at this current moment. Now it sounds like a little bit of stira. I was looking for some more reactions about that. It's a made-up mashal that we're all currently living. As follows. You have a father, a young family, goes off to work, stumbles on Monday, and has one of those Monday days. Very difficult day. He comes back exhausted, tired, probably a little bit hangry. That's hungry and angry at the same time. And he does what he can. He helps out with supper, he cleans up the house a little bit, he gets ready for bedtime. He's reading his son a story in bed when his phone suddenly lights up. He looks at his phone. It's a message from his chavrusa. Hey, are we on for tonight? He looks at the phone and he's thinking to himself, no, we are not on tonight. But he stops for a second, takes a deep breath, and he messages back, yeah, I'll be there. Maybe we'll end a little early tonight, but I'll be there. Kacha, that's the end of the story. Wonderful story of chizik for Elul. But it's not the end of the story. Because what he didn't realize was that his son saw the message. And he saw what his father replied. And his son took the lesson to heart. And in school, he remembered that his father pushed himself a little harder. And the father Taka came home early from night that day. It was a bad day. Bad's a hard word. It was a hard day. But at least he went. So this kid, when he goes to school, pushed himself a little harder in the next test. And he did well. And that's the end of the story. But it's not the end of the story. Because he pushed himself a little harder and did a little better on that test, he had a little more hatzlacha that year. And because he had a little more hatzlacha that year, his overall school experience was a little better. And because his overall school experience was a little bit better, he went to a little better yeshiva. And because he went to a better yeshiva, he was more matzliach in learning, he developed better skills, and he steiged. And because he steiged, and because he developed better skills and he learned, after a short stint in Kollel, he went to work. But instead of being the guy who was listening to the shir, he was a Geschmacka guy, and he gave the shir. Doesn't end there. And because he was the Geschmacka guy that gave the shir, and the shir did very well, the guys in the Chabur were mechuzik. And because the guys in the Chabur were mechuzik, their families became mechuzik. And because their families became mechuzik, the whole shul became mechuzik. Because the whole shul became mechuzik, the community became mechuzik. Sounds familiar? Because the whole community became mechuzik, the school became mechuzik, and everything surrounding it. And you can finish the story yourself. None of this was not realistic. None of this is a fantasy or a fairy tale. There was no magical, he became a Shiva story or whatever. Nothing. All he did was become a little better. Because when you push yourself a little more, you become a little better, you send a small but extremely powerful ripple effect to those around you. That's point number 2. Yes, we have to dig deep. We have to push harder. We have to find that inner ear miklat. But that little bit that we push can have incredible effects. Point 2. Point number 3. We understood our inner value. We had the desire to push. And we pushed. We did more. And yet, usually a person would say, I can only speak for himself, but I'm pretty confident speaking for everybody here. We mess up. Did I offend anybody? I think I'm pretty accurate on that one. We make mistakes. We mess up, and there are times we don't do as well as we would have liked to have done. So now what? So I had the schos this past summer to be a Rabbi in a camp, a sleepaway camp, second half. And there's a relatively new sport. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Pickleball. Have you gotten into it? Okay.
Pickles are my favorite things.
Pickles are your favorite things, exactly. So it's a very interesting hybrid between ping pong, tennis, paddleball, and conglomerate. If you have not played it yet, I strongly advise not starting. It's a little addictive. It's a very easy entry level, and you get hooked very quickly. Al Kapanim, it's very popular now. And the camp that I was in, they converted some old basketball court into a few small pickleball courts. Fine. I loved it. It was an essential part of camp. It's like every time there's downtime, there's all the kids and things. Like, it's a very easy entry level. Like, you can get in on it very easily. They all got involved. They all played with it. Everyone, including myself and my 2 kids. So one of my sons took an extreme liking to it, to the extent that he was actually missing activities here and there. He gets so orangutan in the game, he would just forget. You know, he would lose track. He missed a trip once because he was playing with some of the older guys, and his whole bunk left, and he's like, where's everyone? I said, they left, you know. Okay. So at some point, I sat down and I explained to him, I was like, I'm more than happy for you to play. Like, do whatever you want on all your downtime. But, like, there's a number 1 rule in camp. That's why when I was in camp, that was, like, the one thing the head counselor said. The rule is be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be. You have plenty of free time. And during all that, play as much as you want. But you're in camp. Do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Promise you have time to play pickleball. Fine. Now one day, in the afternoon, my son comes over to me, tells me, Daddy, there's like this sad look on his face. He said, I'm really hungry. And I was so confused, like it didn't like register with me for a second. I was like, they literally just finished lunch and clean up. Like, where were you? Like, as I said it, I realized what happened. He saw this look on my face of displeasure, and he's like, Daddy, this is really hard for me to say it, but yes, I got caught up again playing. I'm really hungry. Can you please help me? Okay, so he owned up to it. He admitted it. What more am I supposed to do? Give it to him? He got it. There's nothing more to do. It's okay. Brought him to the dining room, tried to dig up something for him to eat, etc. I noticed that the moment he took sincere responsibility for it, there was nothing left for me to do. There was no further input. The most I could do was give him a hug and say, let me try to find some lunch for you. Isn't that what Kodesh Baruch Hu does for us also? When we hem and haw and make up excuses, versteht sich, he has to send us a patch. Get the message already. But when we mess up, when we take sincere responsibility and accountability for ourselves, what more is left to do? Expect for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to take us to the lunchroom and give us the chizuk that we need. Yes, we all mess up. We all make mistakes. But we have a choice of what we're going to do with it. If we're willing to face ourselves and take that sincere responsibility and achrayus, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there to help us. I believe that's our avodah this Elul. These are 3 points. But it's not really 3 individual points. It's a mahalach. It's an understanding of ourselves and it's a direction on what to do for Elul. As we mentioned, point number 1, don't be a Trenton. You're so much greater than that. We have so much more that we can do. And if you see yourself as it, that's all you'll be. Recognize who you are. To win this war, it takes a lot of introspection. To see your value and to see what you can become. When that's there, we set up the systems and security that's necessary. Point number 2. We have the drive. We have the passion. We want to do something with it. Now it's time to reach deep within. Yes, we have to find the nekuda besula within. We have to find our inner ear miklat. That untouched essence of tahara that we can always draw chizuk from. And that'll be the strength for us to push harder. And when we do push a little harder, I'm not going to repeat the whole story because you saw how far the ripple effect went. And lastly, we have the drive, we have the passion, we're doing stuff, we're pushing harder. But we all know what happens. Things slip. We make mistakes. And sometimes the drive is just not there. To the extent that we look at Kodesh Baruch Hu in the eye and we say, Daddy, it's hard for me to say it. Yes, I got caught up again. Not just with pickleball, with the Yitzhahara. I need your help. Can you please give it to me? What's left for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to do except for give us a kiss and bring us to the lunchroom and give us the chizuk that we need? As Hashem, if we take these 3 nekudas, the mahalach, of seeing our value, pushing a little bit harder, and having a sincere achrayus for ourselves towards our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you for listening.
disappointed.